Will end its 3-day energy and environment reporting workshop today. And we heard from key speakers and facilitators who share their expertise in sustainable development, in renewable energy and environmental science. So just to give you a heads up on some of the things that are happening, we understood as well that Billy Doctrove is on course to serve another term as president of the Dominica Olympic Committee, the DOC. So we are ready for the discussion this morning. Of course, a lot has been happening with the Fokole landfill, the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation. We just want to bring some of the issues in perspective again as we continue to discuss this very important matter in Dominica. We want to discuss matters pertaining to the garbage collection as well and the way forward following the fire at the landfill that was last week's fire at the Fokole landfill. So we will look at that. Just on Wednesday, by means of information, just on Wednesday of this week, the residents of Stock Farm told a meeting that enough is enough, and they have also called for the immediate removal of the landfill from its current location in Fokole. And that meeting was called by the Dominica Solid Waste Management Committee, the corporation in fact, and the representatives from the Ministry of Environment and as well the Dominica Fire and Ambulance Services. And what we understand is that at the end of that meeting, a committee comprising Stock Farm residents was formed to chart a way forward and hold the corporation accountable. But we'll look at this, and we also heard from the Minister Mr. Blackmore last week. He said that a comprehensive investigation from both the fire department and the police is to be pursued following that fire. We have with us the manager of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, Mr. Florian Mitchell. He's our sole guest this morning. The other guests could not make it, but we will have some of the blanks filled as we say good morning to you and welcome to the discussion. Always willing, always ready to come on air and to clarify some, misconceptions, to set the record straight and to just give information as it relates to everything concerning the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, garbage collection, garbage disposal and all of this. Good morning to you, Mr. Mitchell.
Hi, good morning, Mrs. Luge, and to your listening audience. It's always a pleasure to engage the listening public, wherever you are, at home or abroad. A pleasant morning to you.
Last week around that time, a lot was happening. In fact, the fumes were still out, right? Friday, was it? It was kind of very minimal, clear, yeah. But yes.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, kind of simmer down a bit.
But give us an idea as to the way forward. Just give us a synopsis as well as what happened at the landfill and why we are where we are now.
Well, so from what I see why we are there in terms of the landfill fire, and again let me express, and I will continually express my sentiment to the people that was affected, whether you are commercial entity or institution within close proximity to the landfill, or a resident of Stock Farm or other ensuing communities that got affected last week by the large black plumes of smoke emitting from a fire that we suspected started in the tire area at the sanitary landfill in Fokole. From what we noticed and what we know about landfilling, if the fire started, let's say, where we are putting your normal residential waste, we could have said that probably some form of methane or some form of spontaneous combustion, which happens from time to time in your actual tipping area where we put in your residential waste. But the area wherein the fire started, from what I have known in terms of fire, there is no way tire can spontaneously combust unless it is induced somewhat.
When you say unless it is induced somewhat, explain further. What could cause this, what could cause it to be induced?
Yeah, you have to add some form of accelerant. You have to get some other stuff to cause that fire. There is no way a tire just going to burn automatically by itself. It is not induced by a human interface, right? And so that is why we note that it is foul play. Whether it was done deliberately or not, then that we are not too sure yet. Whether it was done by an external party or by an internal staff, that the investigation will so provide clarity on that. And whoever it is who did it, whether intentionally or not, I would pray that the the legal process would basically have that person brought before the court, because matters like that, there are a lot of environmental degradation and human health concerns that arise. I mean, everybody doesn't have the same medical conditions. Some people have respiratory illnesses. I mean, having the meeting with the residents, I was made aware that there was somebody who had a baby at a tender age. You know, that would have some effect on that child being such of a tender age and having to have that residue of that smoke in the environment for a prolonged time would have some discomfort to that family, to that child and other residents. You know?
I want to go to this though, but let me just say though, in my recollection, I know that fire has affected the operations of the landfill on several occasions. I can recall in 2019 and sometime last year as well. I can also recall that there was a call for new security measures to be implemented. Is there something that's not working, or and it doesn't necessarily have to be on the part of the corporation?
Well, one of the things that we did, I mean, over the years, our entire area was much closer to our general refuse. So over the years, we've tried to isolate it. And if you are visiting the landfill and you were to dispose your tires, you'd see that the tires is in an isolated location. And the tires are actually buried. The stockpile that we had, it was not buried because the hole for it was not prepared. That's why you had this over-accumulation of tires. But at the point of the fire, the hole was already dug. The other process was to bury it.
So how long does it take though, that in terms of that process for burial of the tires? Do you have to have a large, amount and accumulation, a lot of tires before you decide to bury it, or is it a process that could be done on a weekly basis? Yes.
No. So generally we would have to prepare a location on the site. We did prepare a location, so there is no set. But the area that we have it, the intention originally was to cover it in where it is, because 3 sections of that area is soil. So you have a cliff on your south side, then you have another cliff more on the north and the west part of the facility. But because of the volume that was there, we felt that covering it and putting a ramp on it would be a bit too difficult to have other vehicles to access the new site. So we prepared the hole to bury the actual quantum that we had.
Interesting. Wow. And you mentioned about a situation with a baby. Just
I mean, stemming from the meeting, the residents mentioned of someone in the community who had a newly born baby. I mean, you'd imagine as a parent having to deal with that kind of smoke.
And even apart from that, a baby, we know as well that smoke inhalation can trigger asthmatic attack.
Yes.
It can also worsen symptoms
yes.
of people suffering from respiratory illnesses. So what plans though are in place?
Okay, so prior to the fire, we've been having discussions on decentralization. So most times when people hear the word decentralization, so we want to kind of break down decentralization a bit. So landfilling should be our last resort in Dominica. So burying the waste that we generate should be the last resort. So what a decentralization system would involve, you have other locations throughout the island. So you may have regional locations for the processing of different material. So your tires or your white goods or your recyclable material, which we're asking people to separate your glass, plastic cans, you can deposit those at other locations and the material can be processed. Noting that waste in construct is packaging, really. But that waste can be a resource. So the paper that you're writing on, instead of burying it, it could be used over and over and over again for creation of new material, new products. The microphone has styrofoam. It can be used over and over. But the culture that we have in Dominica and in the Caribbean to a large extent, we like to jete stuff, lack of better word, which is what we like to fruit stuff. And we do not comprehend the need now for recycling and the role of recycling now in reducing landfilling. And the issues that we're having presently when we have a fire or smoke from a landfill, whether it's just the emission of your methane and stuff from the landfill, which is causing discomfort to our close community. If we were to pull out all that organic content from your landfill, there is no smell. Because your food waste is what that really breaks down and cause that smell, which is like the sulfuric smell that you get from your landfill. But that is actually food waste. So if we have a regional location, if you have a site in Dominica where you can bring all your biomass, which is whether it is your grass or your food waste, and you can process it and you could use it. I mean, you made mention of the symposium. You could have an organic fertilizer that could be used within your farm. So it lends a hand to decentralize the operation to a more recovery of the material or the resource. And that goes from linear, because linear approach in waste management, I remove it from your home, or you remove it from your home, we collect it and we put it in a landfill. But a circular economy approach allows the material now that is produced to be used over and over and over and over and not go to the landfill. It's just a small element of what cannot be reused or repurposed will then go to a landfill, which will be very, very minimal. And that is what we are currently looking to establish.
Landfilling should be a last resort.
Last resort.
Very interesting.
Because in the waste management hierarchy, the first thing is you refuse stuff. Once you can refuse, then you don't have to deal with that waste. And then landfilling really is the last resort. Yeah.
But as I said, interesting that you mentioned that. Are there plans though for a removal of the landfill? Because my recollection also tells me that the area was designed to handle Dominica's waste disposal needs for about 15 years, right? 15 years. And that's something from its operational commencement in 2005. I think I was in the news just then. 20 years have elapsed since then.
Okay, so let me debunk this. So the original designs for the landfill was done by Procel. So I like to give people information so they could fact check what we're saying. So when the landfill was designed and commissioned back in 2005, they're about 4 or 5, they're about.
2005.
Yeah. So there were 2 active cells. So the active cells were supposed to be for 15 years. But in the document itself, there was the proposal for an additional 3rd phase.
Okay.
So it's not like the landfill was set up to just last for 15 years.
15 years. Okay. So the 3rd phase was done.
No. First phase was supposed to have been implemented, which you have not implemented. So the 15 years, the actual tipping cells were supposed to have lasted for, and then we implement another cell, should have already been done. But we are still using.
So it has enhanced what we already had.
Yeah.
From the start. Okay.
Yeah. But what was not done when the landfill was constructed, and not just Dominica, so sometimes people like to give Dominica blues. So what we noticed when the landfills within our region, it was the OECS ship generated project. The how high the landfill is presently, the separation.
You're referring to the separation.
Separation,
okay.
yeah. So if you're building a landfill, you must have a level of separation of your material, because as I said, the material that we dispose is packaging in nature. The sardine is what we eat, but the can, we do not eat it. But the can be exported for further processing. The glass, the paper, the cardboard, the textile. And this is what we want the Dominican public to bear in mind. When we generate, instead of just putting everything in one bag and put it on the side of the road and cry and complain that something is not being done, but are we disciplining ourselves to separate the material that we produce at the household level? Because it's really our responsibility from the residential level or commercial entity to manage the waste that we produce. Then so we're supposed to collect it and then dispose of it accordingly based on best practice.
Interesting. But do we have the capacity for this though? You're saying that like the businesses have to manage the waste obviously and separate the waste, and all of us have to do that as well. But in reference to on a national level, solid waste, where are we with this? Okay,
so most times I like to give Dominica blues, right? But again, I tell people, do your research. Dominica, with our limited resources, is the only island in the wider Caribbean basin, right? And I'm not even saying OECS, wider Caribbean basin, that has aggressively pursued recycling or separating at the household level.
Repeat this for emphasis, Mr. Mitchell. So, I know you all get a lot of blows. But you know, sometimes you have to repeat things like this.
So, I mean, Dominica, the island of Dominica, with the limited resources that we have, is the only island in our region and in the wider Caribbean basin that has designated a lot of our effort and emphasis on collecting recycled material at the household level. You do not see that anywhere else in the Caribbean. Barbados, with all their money, they are my colleagues, I call in the name, but they don't have a system whereby a truck is specifically fabricated, designated to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to pick up glass, plastic, and can at the household level. And even when we implement programs like that, we are still not getting the public to put all the material in the way they should. And the support that we receive as we speak, because of that program, we have attracted monies. We have a bailer on the landfill in excess of probably $300,000 that we want to install to further process the glass, plastic, and cans. If you come to our facility, you'll see we have a baler, we're processing plastic waste. If you come to our facility, you'll see we're processing glass. If you come to our facility, you'll see we have an ad hoc shed that we're trying to pull out your electronic waste and store it in the shed. Because we see the need of separating. We see the need of decentralizing the material that comes to the landfill. Because waste is a resource, as I have said in my opening comments. And we have a project that is approved for financing for the ACE facility in the tune of about $1 million. So before the end of this year, we should have a 40-foot container, which is an equipment that we are purchasing through the grant financing. So when we ask you to separate, right, we know the plastic that you are going to bring to us, we have a shredder in our facility. We're going to shred it. And we're going to convert that plastic into a commodity that could be sold in Dominica. So we know what needs to be done, and through government support and grant financing, we are procuring equipment that would allow us to demonstrate in a more holistic way the circular economy approach, not just sending it out, because what we notice, the shipping cost is very expensive in shipping out material for export for further processing. But if you're able to close that loop, so we notice within the construction industry and within Dominica, there are a lot of plastic products that we import. Plastic chairs, plastic tables, so on and so on. So. But it's the same pet we put in the landfill. It's the same pet that we throw in the drain. It's the same pet we throw around in the ravine.
So herein, I was just about to ask you, where do you think the main problem lies?
It's a
challenge.
It's a behavioral change.
The populace has not bought into this as yet.
Yeah. But what we find is strange. We automatically adopt when we travel. So why is it that when we are at home and we have been advocating, and I must again compliment the schools who are part of the Zero Waste School Initiative. If you travel around, we have about 50 schools participating in our project. And the last we counted, we probably have collected in excess of about 1 million plastic bottles within our school products, within our school, participating with the Zero Waste School Project.
Is it
focusing on plastic waste?
All schools
about 50 schools that we have registered with us. And we have exported about 500,000, but the count is we're close to 1 million plastic bottles by just this simple initiative at the school level.
When they started? When?
Sometime last year we started.
Okay.
And if we are seeing that success at the school level, so we're hoping that when you go to your home, the children pass on that knowledge to their parents. But we're seeing it very successful at the school level, but at the home, we are seeing a slowness to separate the material. And that is what we're hoping to see, a greater public participation in separating your waste.
Because these will read down to preventative measures.
Because as I always say to the public, we shouldn't be afraid of the waste. I mean, we're the ones producing it, so we shouldn't be afraid. So why is it that you enjoy your KFC or you enjoy your fish, and then when you're putting out the bones, you just throw it in a nilly-dally, and then you leave it in, and then you're complaining that there is worms or your garbage is smelling? But there are simple, basic elements that you could use. If you're like me that live in an area where you have a lot of space, there is no need to put out your biomass. You could dig a hole, bury it, put it in a bucket, cover it, put some layer of soil on it so the flies and stuff don't get to it, And then you could use that in your backyard gardening, for soil enrichment and so on and so forth. So once you remove that food waste from your general waste, you're not going to get no smell. The cans and stuff, you rinse it while you're in your kitchen. You use your sardines or whatever. Use a little hot water to ensure all the little grease and stuff is no longer in there. You separate that. You put that on the side. The garbage truck the recycle truck comes probably your area every Wednesday or every Thursday or every Friday. You put this out. Your other waste is very small in comparison to what needs to be put out. Yeah?
I want to go back to that meeting that was called. It was this week, earlier this week.
Yeah.
By residents of Stock Farm. That meeting, of course, was initiated by the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation. Am I clear?
Yes,
clear
yes,
this?
yes,
Alright.
we did.
Okay, and with the fire and ambulance service
Bec-
and others as well. In reference to some of the things that came out of that meeting, and a way forward, anything that the DSWMC would have learned in reference to going ahead with some of the suggestions.
Okay, so in all my years in working in solid waste, I've never seen solid waste have any redress with any fire before. And we felt that it was important to meet with the people, to be transparent, because most times people
That's
figure if you're not
important.
speaking, you're not transparent. And there was this ongoing concept that we are incinerating stuff and causing unnecessary stress to the public. And as I expressed in the meeting, I mean, sometimes when we do not know, let's just get information, as opposed to disinforming, and then we all have an opinion, and then when the dust is settled, the opinion is not factual. So we felt that it was very important to sit down, meet with them, and have a committee established that the residents themselves could be more intricately involved in the affairs of solid waste then, like an oversight committee. Because we know that the residents have concerns apart from the fire. There were inherent issues with stock farm people, because the old landfill was in stock farm, the other landfill is in Fokole, and then people complain of smell from time to time with your normal biomass decomposition. So the people have genuine concern outside of the fire, and we felt that it was very important to just sit down with them, have a discussion with them, see where they are, and to have a committee that could, we could invite them in, the issues that they have, and we could see how we could address the issues. And one of the things that was echoed in the meeting, that they need the landfill removed. But realistically, are you able to remove a landfill in 1 month or 2 months in a year? And that's why we felt that it's important to have the committee. So we would sit down, so there would be clear activities so they had issues of fire. Are you able to remove the tires there, remove the white goods there to prevent that recurrence? So these are low-hanging fruit that can be achieved in quick time, right? But the removal or relocation of a landfill, that takes more time, so you need more planning. So by having the committee, we'll be able to chart out actionable activities that could be time-bound, and then they could have oversight and say, look, you did mention within 6 months you would find another area for the tires, and we are on month 6 and nothing happens, and to hold Solace accountable for some of the recommendations or some of the things that they would like to see that would not impact them as they have currently.
But that's
been
an
impacted
unfair
over a long
suggestion,
time.
though, because I was still wondering. I mean, do we have a plan B? Because this is happening. I don't know if I should say very often, but it has happened, quite a few times. As I said, I can, recall 2019 and other years. In terms of the plan B, though, and in terms of looking forward, because there is a call for the removal of the landfill from the residents, and of course, rightly so. Is there a plan B in place, this Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation,
Yes.
as far as this is concerned?
Yes.
Is there a spot that is already identified, for in the event that, yes, we definitely have to at least have another, just help me out with this.
So as I made mention in a meeting, a couple weeks before the fire, I had a telephone conversation with the Prime Minister on decentralization and looking for land. So I was informing them we already have that conversation. So it's not the fire is now driving us to that. Okay. We saw the need. So we already have the conversation in looking at for suitable location for decentralization. Decentralization, you're moving away from the current modus of operandi, right? But those activities take time. I mean, you have to identify the lands. Lands might be privately owned. You have to acquire the land. So that will take some time. But we have already begun the process. I've reached out to Land and Survey, So we are starting to look at government locations. If we have the government locations, where are the most appropriate government locations, taking into consideration a few factors if you are to construct another landfill. So those discussions is already being had. But to move from a landfill to a landfill, it will take some time. It's not just going to happen overnight. So that's why we're saying to them, there are other activities that might be inherent that are of concern. So if your concern is the tires, somebody's come in and do that, and we have seen tires, landfill as a problem, tires in the landfill, it's a problem. Can we know? It might be easier to just find an abandoned quarry somewhere that might not have that level of population. And we could say, okay, we could use that quarry, dig a cell, and then we have our management system there, and then you bury it so it's away from any residential community. So these are low-hanging activities that we think that could be dealt with in a very short period of time. But the decentralization where you're moving from that current landfill, as I try to express to them, this will take some time because you have to have some planning. But it is already been explored. And I was trying to, again, encourage them that it's not the fire that caused that. We've had the discussion before because we saw that it is important to have that and to be able to achieve it.
All right, we have Florian Mitchell, the manager of the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, with us this morning. We have about 30 minutes. We want to look at the issue of garbage collection as well. But I wanted to ask you though, Florian Mitchell, is there a need for more fire hydrants? Do you have enough of this amidst the challenges that the corporation faces? Not enough garbage trucks and all of that. I know work is being done to get more, but fire hydrants and other equipment.
I sometimes it's a bit funny to answer, but yes, you need more. But what is sufficient? So 200 fire hydrants, 300 fire hydrants. What we don't want to see is a fire at all, but there is need to have probably a few more hydrants within the active areas of the landfill. So we do not have a hydrant where we are storing our tires, so probably we should have one there.
All right.
We have other parameters on the landfill that we do not have hydrants. So the recommendation from the fire department is to install a few more hydrants with the areas that may be very prone to fire.
Okay. Yeah. So what I wanted to ask you is to give us a scenario, like when this happens, like when a fire happens on the landfill, what is in place even before the fire and ambulance service arrives on the scene?
Okay, so for the tires, right? So because the tires could be a very troublesome item, that is why we had the tire contained around a cliff, so to speak, right? And the immediate action would be you get your excavator, you start cutting the cliff as much as possible to prevent the fire from spreading. So where the tires are located, it is located there deliberately by solid waste, just in case. Because we had it in areas where we could not access any material that would allow us to deal with it in a very quick time. You understand? So from day one, we got the excavator to access an external road, and we had been cutting, and then you get your dozers, and you started pushing to cover. So the fire department has never, we contained the fire, right? And the fire department was on the western side of the fire, right? And solid waste and personnel, private equipment was on the eastern end of the fire. We contained the fire, and the fire in the tire section was dealt with by solid waste, team supervising, and private sector equipment. The fire truck or the fire department could not access that section of the landfill, and we were able to contain it, noting that we know if we have a fire there, you need an excavator, you need soil, you need a dozer. And then what the fire department did, they were on the scrap metal section, ensuring that the fire does not cross into the garbage section. And so our action was deliberate in putting it where we put it. And that is why within quick time, from 2 to probably 1 o'clock in the morning, we were able to
It has to be a carefully planned process.
Yeah, we were able to cover the entire tire section that was exposed, where that had the flames and stuff. And we were able to suppress that from the first 9 hours. Because from...
But even the day after, I think the black smoke had subsided. And then we saw it coming back again. Explain to us what was happening.
In your tire section, so let's say someone deposits a derelict vehicle in your landfill. So you may have a tire in there. You may have a stove, a fridge, elements of that. And in between, after we covered, we had 1 or 2 reoccurrence within the tire section. So we just brought the excavator and then deal with it. Because we were able to suppress it but not extinguish. Because the fire, basically, if tires are consuming, the fire will be below. So you'd cover above like a coal pit then. Even if you're not seeing the fire, but you'll see the residue of smoke through the sun. So we had 1 or 2 pockets by Tuesday, Wednesday that we were able to deal with. And then the scrap metal section, because you may have vehicles there, some of them may have tires and stuff. So when the fire would hit amid those items, then you'd have some black smoke within that section as well.
So as it stands now, today, there's no smoke emanating from that area?
Very minimal. Probably a little slight stuff.
But this has been monitored as well, right?
Yeah. And then we have stockpile of soil on the site. Then we have our excavator checking it out. And again, I must compliment or say thank you to the many agencies, DOASCO, ODM, Karakan, CR5, what's I'm missing, DASPA. A lot of stakeholders provided the resources in ensuring that we're able to combat the fire department.
Have we ever had a simulation exercise, or could it be that it has happened quite a few times, so we just like...
Well, it has happened quite a few times that we just know what to do to be able to contain the fire in quick time.
But as it relates to the residents, in the area, so I was talking about the simulation exercise, or have we done something that will, encompass, residents there as well? Okay,
so that is where I say that there is a greater need of support. Even it was expressed by the residents that at least there were some people who have underlying conditions that could not move, and they would have required some form of support or assistance to get them to move to another location. So we faltered, I would say, in that department, and that's an area that we need to pay closer attention to see how we could have an idea as to who they are, just like you have a national hurricane coming, then we know the vulnerable people in a particular community. And so we faltered in that area. So it's an area that we need to kind of put some more
we mentioned Yemen, the smoke
thinking in place in there.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the smoke inhalation may trigger, an asthmatic attack, and you have to consider people who have respiratory illnesses and the elderly, and you mentioned a baby earlier on. So a lot has to go in place. So I think maybe that is something you'll have to look at.
Yeah, we will definitely look at that element very, very close. It's something that we had not paid too much attention to in the way we should have. So it shows that, and again, by having the committee, all those things will be basically detailed.
Let's address another elephant in the room as far as it relates to garbage collection.
It's not an elephant, it is seen all over.
Yeah, well, yes, it is not an elephant, and that's true. But the calls keep coming, and communities keep expressing growing alarm as the collection delays persist in several areas. What is the status? What is happening now? Where are we with this?
Okay, so I always try to get us to see that the waste that is produced, basically we are the ones producing it. I don't want us to ever lose fact or sight of that. That we as a people, we have an essential responsibility.
We have to be strategic. We have to
manage your waste, whether you are at your home or whether you are at a commercial entity. And let me just share something with you. Yesterday, I was just taking a bus to go somewhere. And I was walking across the street, and I saw one of my staff is waiting to work in Roseau for the night. So I just said, let me go across the street and say hello to him. It's one of our staff, one of our old guys. And we call him Mayor. So we're just having a little chat and saying hello. And then on the corner of my eye, I just saw something fling. And
from a vehicle?
No, a girl was walking. Okay. But we were just speaking, so we're not paying attention to the person. And on King George V Street, someone put some culverts there. So in my mind, they put the culvert probably to cut it and put some plans for beautification stuff. And she just fling the bag into the culvert. And then when
you're talking about two huge culverts.
Yeah.
I saw them last night. I saw them, yes.
And when I watched, I saw the bag in it, and I'm like, young lady, but that is not a litter bin. She said, what it is there for? I'm like, no, this is not a litter bin. You should not put your waste in it. And she had an attitude. And I told her, tomorrow, God's willing, I'm going to come and you're going to get a ticket. But I had to come to the radio station, so we have not dealt with that. So, again, it's our attitude and our behavior. Why is it that we feel comfortable that we could just take our bag of waste, whether we come from our commercial enterprise or our home, and just put it on the side of the road in Roseau, or put it down Maho by the cubicle, or throw it down St. Joseph somewhere, or put it down Point Michel and by the public convenience, and things is Zafe solid waste, so you can pumase. I think that concept
we have to begin to change our mindset, and I agree. And I agree, but
where I always maintain where solid waste needs to get blues, give us blues. right? But the mindset of our attitude in what we're doing, we need to consider, we need to manage the waste. And if we can manage the waste, then the issues that we are seeing in our communities will be reduced. I do not see waste in Gali unless I see a truck.
We have been speaking about this for so many years. It seems like it's an
If
exercise
you go
in
Penville, you're
futility.
not seeing garbage all over the place. There are places in Dominica you do not see garbage all over the place. So is it that people? Sorry for saying that. So are we saying that people in Penville have a higher level of intelligence than everybody else in Dominica or Gali or wherever? When I checked Gali, there's a lot of farmers and people, decent people, but they see they need to manage it because they know they are the ones producing it, and we need to see that in our other communities.
I know that time after time the corporation calls on Dominicans to, and both commercial and residential stakeholders, to adopt proactive measures to mitigate the situation, and that's exactly what we are doing. Whenever you all come on, we always address things like that, and it's really an issue. I'm not sure when we'll get it right.
I think we need to start charging people $500 for littering.
But is the ticketing system working well?
I find the fines is too lax. $25 for litre. I think it's just too much.
$25 for litre, general. That's a flat price.
Litre, yeah. So if you drop a oddment cigarette butts, the law consider it litre oddment. But if you were to dispose material in a public space, there are other legislations.
Because I have seen on there's a place in Bath Road when you're going up Convent High School area, on the right hand side, that gives a fee in terms of how much you will be fined. I just can't remember the exact amount.
So the law would that is okay. So littering is I throw something on the side of the road, which is
you're driving a vehicle and you just
so if you dispose of material in a public space. So you dump material, then there is a different penalty for those elements. But what we note, we've seen a lot of littering taking place. And it's
easier now to see because of social media.
Yeah. And what happens is that, so what I've seen, right? So when we had our full complement of vehicles and we were very efficient in collecting, the problem was always there, It's just that the truck was on time. So because the truck is on time, on Tuesdays and Fridays, you're not saying nothing. But because the truck could not come on Tuesday and it come on Friday, you're seeing the problem. It's more visual now. But the problem was always there. But in terms of the collection equipment, so as we speak, we have 2 vehicles in Barbados. They were supposed to arrive on the 3rd, but there was a delay with the shipping line, so they will be here next week Friday. Again, that is to help bring some form of ease up to the current system. We have 4 or 5 trucks that the Prime Minister promised a few fleet. So we have some brand new trucks coming, but we felt that we could have gotten 2 trucks from England very quick to help bring some ease up the pressure then as we speak. So those 2 vehicles will be on Ireland on Friday.
But I have a feeling that the trucks break down quickly, and that's good. We're getting 2 trucks soon from Barbados. But in terms of the lifespan of the trucks, I don't know if they even last a year or go on for 6. I'm not talking about those coming from Barbados because we don't know.
They're not coming from Barbados. They just transit and is there.
Right? But in terms of the lifespan of the trucks, what have we seen though in recent years?
Okay, so what Dominica by construct is a very mountainous list. So imagine you traveling with garbage from Mariga to Fokole regularly, consistently. You're going to have issues of breakdown. And the current fleet that we have was insufficient. So you are basically using a truck 2 or 3 times for a day. So the wear and tear on that truck would be higher. And there are also human error and human factor. So you cannot discount that. Once you're driving, somebody's probably going to do something wrong and you're going to have some form of issues. But in terms of the workload on one given equipment, and that is why the intent now is to ensure we have a vehicle per zone. So you have at least 7 zones, so each zone has its vehicle, and the vehicle will only be working in that zone Mondays to Friday. So you have one for South, Roseau City Center, Roseau North, Zone 2, Zone 3, Zone 4, Zone 4, Zone 5, Zone 6, Zone 7, and then the vehicles, at best, what we also seeking to do is also have those vehicles stationed as much as practical within their zone. So that is the new way of moving forward. But even if we have all the complement of the vehicle, we still need the people to manage the waste. So that's one of the things that we want people to do. You have to manage it. You have to remove your organic waste. You have to remove your recycling, because it makes it easier when the material comes to the landfill.
Certain material should not be going to the landfill.
It should not. and we are investing heavily in processing the material. So that's why we are not just telling you separate it for just like a show, you know. We are already investing in the equipment that allow us now to process it to the degree that we can produce a commodity and create employment. Because circularity is creating employment in the waste management value chain.
What about the presence on social media from the DSWMC?
I think
I think
our
that would-
I think our content creation needs lots of improvement.
Of course, it needs.
I've been having discussion with somebody external to see how we can get a content creator because there is a need for
A
constant
short video can
messaging,
do, you know. I
constant
mean, people
messaging.
don't need a long video,
Yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
on social media. But there's a need for it because
Yeah.
for years we have been talking about these things, you know.
Yeah.
And we're still not getting it right as a nation. And
I believe we will. I think this present construct probably have a little level of wake up call that we need to do better as a people, not just the corporation, but as a people. Even in the Rosa City Center, I mean, people take it for granted because they see a truck, they just put it out. But a commercial entity, by the definition of the law, you are required to store your waste and then transport it to a facility or contract somebody to do it on your behalf. And we do not see that happening in many instances within the city. And imagine Gali, I have a shop. You think I'm going to pay a man $20 or $40 to bring my stuff in the landfill? I'm just going to put it on the side of the road and by default solid waste collects. And that is where we have been also speaking to how do we sustain. So after the government of Dominica would have invested heavily in making all the trucks available, because the vehicles I made mention of is not solid waste money, it's the government of Dominica that makes it available. And the trucks that we're procuring to come, how are we going to maintain it? I mean, are we going to always ask the government for money to maintain? And we are the ones benefiting from the service? And that's why we have been advocating for a sustained financing model that allows us now, the end users, the beneficiaries of the service now, to contribute to maintain the service, to maintain the system. And as we speak in Dominica, we have not seen that level of sustained financing model implemented as we have seen in the region. And I made mention of Barbados earlier in our conversation. There is a $44, I think, on your water bill for waste management in Barbados. This is almost $4 million a month, which is almost 48, almost $50 million a year. Because they see the need to maintain the system and improve upon the service. And in Dominica, that doesn't exist. It exists in Grenada, it exists in St. Vincent, it exists in Barbados. Why not Dominica? And when we speak of sustained financing for waste management, when we speak of moving into a circular economy approach, when we speak of extended producers' responsibility, all those mechanisms are essential in ensuring that we do not have this conversation again.
Yeah, look at where we are in
Yeah,
2025,
you
still
understand?
discussing that. And
Still
yes,
discussing it.
you know, it's true that there's a collective responsibility of waste management. But when you look at it, really, the situation in recent time is really a cause for concern.
And I mean, play your part. And I was so happy that, I mean, a few of the citizens are really playing their part. You see somebody do something, we have always been advocating that. Take a video, send it to us, post it. Let the people realize that it's not solid waste alone. It's not like a solid waste thing. You understand? Some people saying is a Dowasco thing or this thing. It's not a solid waste thing, because whatever we dispose of, it can affect us. And I tell people, I mean, you might be using a phone, but there are non-ferrous material in there. They are very hazardous to human health. If they interact with nature and they get into the water table, it's going to create some problems for us. And why would you want to throw your television in a font in Collier somewhere? It's going to end up in the water, and then we're going to consume the fish, and it's a problem for us. You know?
We have been talking and sort of ignoring the telephone, but let's just take a caller quickly. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I'm sitting back and I'm listening to your program. A repetition of a program, I should say. And we're still not getting it. We're just not getting it. But my question is to Dominicans or Caribbean people, right? Talking about my country right now. Why is it that when we migrate to other countries, for instance, we come to North America, we go to England, we go to the United States, they can comply to the laws and regulations implemented or established governing garbage pickup. No, there's a recyclable recyclable bins. They know there are free another bin for garbage. They know there's one for whatever the vegetables and all that stuff. You could say recycle because we have garbage, we have plastic, and we have kitchen or food waste free receptacles. And they come on separate days of once a week. But like every other week, we would have a recycle for cardboard, paper. Then we'd have garbage the following week. Even with when you mow your lawn, the clippings, the grass clippings, they have all that. And when you walk through the streets, you may find one or two idiots putting stuff on the road. But on the whole, you find the place is always clean. That's why people say Canada is a very clean place. Why do our people, why do we have to have a video? What is so difficult? You have garbage, you eat something, you buy something from a store, from a vendor. Why can't you hold the stuff until you find a collectible bin and drop it in it? When you smoke a cigarette, why don't you just put it in a container where you walk with it and dispose it in a recyclable bin? Why do people have to just figure it's just free to just dirty up a place and find it like there's no problem in that? And as Mr. what's his name, Adrian said, the fees are too low. And
Florian
when
Michel.
they implement it, Florian Michel,
Yes.
fees are too low. And when they implement laws, you're not implementing laws only, they have to make sure it works.
Good
Get
point.
on the targets. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless. Bye-bye.
All right, thank
Yeah,
you.
well, thanks, caller, for your comments and observation. I mean, we said it earlier on. I mean, why is it that we treat somebody else's country like it's the best destination there is? And the last I checked, Dominica is in the trial. And sometimes I say that. I mean, I have been to a few places myself, but I would not trade Dominica for nowhere else that I've seen or visited. I think no place is home. And I don't know why, I say it time and time again, I don't know why it's not for a slavage like blows on the back. I just find it just doesn't connect. And we need to do better. I mean, we really need to do better. It's our island, it's our country. If we destroy it, we cannot we should be able to preserve it for our children and our heritage. I mean, we cannot continue as business as usual, you know?
Yeah, as you said that we should be able to preserve it for our children and our heritage. I was just thinking, I really have to commend, I know we spoke about it earlier, but I just want to go back to this in terms of the programs at schools. As you mentioned, 50 schools, right? At 50 schools, and that's very, very, very good. And probably this education can be maybe integrated into the curriculum. Probably we have to begin to look at things like that and supported by practical initiatives, maybe even at the preschool level. Because we have been battling with this for many years now, many years. You know, I've been at DBS Radio for a while now, for a long time, and you know we have had discussions on this every year for how many times in a year. And I can remember Felix Henderson doing so much on this as well with the Creole component, and we just haven't gotten it right as yet as a people. But let's take another caller quickly. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mrs. I want to get John Baptist. And how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
And I'm calling to give Mr. Florian. Mr. Florian, good morning as well.
Morning, ma'am.
I am calling from, I'm cool. I'm calling from the village of Bellevue Chopin as the supervisor working with the NLP in the village. So we have a problem with that rubbish by the mall. What can you do for us, please? What can you advise us to do? Because like it's by the mall, that is the dumping site now. Because the solid waste put a sign on the road where it used to be collected that no dumping of rubbish. Fair and well, that's nice. But what about by the mall?
Yeah, so apparently, caller, I was in Bellevue yesterday, and I saw the waste there. And
So you're talking on the children. So you don't have done with the mall with the other guys.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah, I'm trying to respond. Okay, ma'am. I was saying I was in Bellevue yesterday and I saw it. And prior to that, one of my guys, Joe, called me on it. So we are seeking to figure out how to better address this situation because it's just a mini dump. that is in the area. And again, as I was saying earlier, because people feel, we can just put it on the side of the road, nobody's there to give us any ticket. So we are seeking to address it. I mean, we have a contractor who's responsible for cleaning the area. The material will be removed, but even if it is removed, the collection supervisor and myself, we will meet with the people in the area and seek to address the illegal dumping, as it were, close to the mall, because it's extremely unsightly from what I saw yesterday.
Good. Now, I want you to take another look at when you come up from corner to Bellevue Shopping. Throw your eyes over the valley for me, please. Just everywhere you see a little, just throw your eyes for me and you will comment on it. And let me tell you something. There is SUV, there is maybe called Toyota, there is Mitsubishi car, there is a box wheel car, there is all kind of car. But let me tell you something. There is no more car than Dominica. Have a blessed day. I love my country. Bye.
All right.
Yeah, caller, thanks. You're speaking to the JT effect that occurs over the cliffs.
JT.
Yeah, the fling fly.
JT.
Yeah.
Felix had this well. Fling fly JT. Yeah. All right, so we'll continue the discussion. I think we can take a few more minutes on this. We had intentions to stop at 10:40. Can you take an extra 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
No problem.
All right, because there are so many other areas I want to look at, because we also want to look at the removal of abandoned vehicles. Solid Waste has embarked on this already. I think leading the charge this time is the Commonwealth of Dominica Police Force, of course, in collaboration with Solid Waste. Or am I wrong? Correct me.
Yeah. So I want to say kudos to the Dominica Police Force. And sometimes when you speak, you try to be very calm or in what you're saying.
Just stick a pin there a while. Yeah. Let's just take this caller quickly. Yes, good morning. Hello?
Good morning. Talking morning?
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
Yes, go on. Calling from the village of Cochrane. Exactly what that last caller just said. My brother, come to Cochrane. When you live Wall Shopping, come to Cochrane on your left. Drive up. How do you see rubbish dump, and that particularly is not much from the village of Cochrane per se. Come in the village of Cochrane. Come to Cochrane, come to a particular business place where they sell fries, all kind of things. Left and right side. Come and see, my dear. I used to be working on the NEP, and come and see. We haven't got a hat, some of us, in terms of beautification and the beauty of our little village. Look at the kind of rubbish from the people that sell their fried chicken and whatever they sell, those little containers there. But there's your responsibility tomorrow. People just throw it. Just take a garbage bag and just heap it up. Because it come from they buy those things from you. People are under bottles, big bottles, sovereign bottles. Mind there, it's hurting your heart to see what you're trying to do. NEP gang constantly try to do. Once you rubbish all over on people's private land, just flinging, flying. So, thank you. Good morning.
Okay. I will get back to his comment with the fling in a while, but just to get back to the derelict vehicle. So, it's nice to see that the Dominica Police Force has taken that drive, and it's lovely to see that institutions that have mandate is playing their part, because for a while now, most times when people saw the derelict vehicle, first thing they thinking is solid waste.
It has to be a collective responsibility, as you keep saying.
And I've always advocated in the time past, derelict vehicles by construct sometimes on the side of the road. So there ought to be an element of traffic violation and public health issues. So, I mean, it's nice to see, the police coming forward this time. We've worked with them before, but this time they're really pushing the charge. And we have seen great success, and I would call on the other agencies who have similar oversight over matters pertaining to environmental preservation or degradation, that they should play their part. And don't let it be like it's like a solid waste thing only. And the cleanup that we've seen since 2017, the government of Dominica have had this enhanced natural environment project. So all the removal of the derelict vehicles form part of the enhanced natural environment project.
So I think go ahead.
And just to get back to the caller, so one of the things that we would like to see in 2026 is a more extended producer responsibility, where the importers or the manufacturers thereof of certain packaging material in our jurisdiction, to have them a bit more accountable for the products that we are seeing in the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you might not be the ones who's tipping it there, but how much of your money is that you are spending in advocacy to ensure that is not done? So that is one of the areas we're trying to develop. It is really called EPR, Extended Producers Responsibility. And how do we get the importers of those wonderful packaging products that we see all over the place to be more involved in remedial and to prevent that from happening? And we want to see that greater level of collaboration there, whether it's through legislation or whether it's through other means, because we need that.
Yeah. All right, I think about 60 vehicles have been issued tickets. We did not mention that, but from the news, that's what I gather. I'm not sure if there's a move to have more, because we have a lot more, but there's certain communities this drive will be undertaken. So
okay, so I could give you some background info
Yeah.
on derelict vehicles. Let me see if I
think
get
essentially they'll be looking at Roseau, places like Yampies, Goodwill, Bath Estate, and Portersville.
Yeah. But the derelict vehicle removal is not anything new. So since 2017, we've been removing derelict vehicles, and it's a very I'm looking for it. I have it on my WhatsApp there. I can't remember the numbers on my head, but we've removed in excess of probably
And we
2,000.
characterize a derelict vehicle as a motor vehicle as abandoned, right?
Yeah. So the Environmental Health Services Act would have a definition of what a derelict vehicle is. The Soil Waste Management Act would also have, and the Litter Act would basically have. But in essence, once a vehicle cannot be used for the purpose in which it was purchased for, it by definition generally can be considered derelict, because if you purchase it to move left and right, and then it cannot move left and right, it's parked somewhere, there's no engine, there's no wheels, so on and so on. So it is in principle considered a derelict. But what we've noticed is we see a lot of abandoned shells. Somebody may say they're trying to repair something and they have it there for 5 years, and they are trying to repair one vehicle for the last 5 years. I mean, after a while we need to consider that that is no longer a derelict. So it's no longer usable and can't consider a derelict. So let me just give you some stats. So in 2020, Solid Waste removed 552 derelict vehicles.
532 in 2020.
In 2021, we removed 158. In 2022, we removed 290. In 2023, we removed 154. In 2024, we are 111. And as we speak, with the police and our joint initiative, we are at 140. That was from January to June 19th, 2025, we removed 140. So the years that I've spoken of, in excess of...
If you were to do the math, that's a lot.
Yeah, in excess of, from 2020 to now, 1,400, let's say 1,465 vehicles we have removed so far.
Okay, let's take this final caller. We are getting just a few minutes more from Dr. Miguel Labadie. Let's take this caller. Okay, we lost that call. So we can begin to wrap up. There are so many areas that we still want to cover, Mr. Michel. So I would really like to invite you again next time. I know you have a series of programs on DBS Radio, Solid Waste in 15.
Yeah.
Let's take this caller. Our final caller for the morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Your
line, you're sounding muffled. I really distorted.
Is it better?
Yes, a little. Let's go quickly.
Okay. Yes. Just what the gentleman was saying. I think he was on the same program as Mr. Sebastian yesterday. I think I made a few comments, but in the Portersville St. Alphonsus Church, I know it is not belonging to, it's in an area where that belongs to the church. But we are on a drive in the community to ask people to remove their vehicles from the parking lot. Time before, people were saying, "Oh, this is not his church, but it belongs to the church." And we are on a drive now. And day before yesterday, day before, a couple of days ago, I personally went to the traffic division with a few numbers that I picked from those vehicles. And as soon as I left, the police said they're going to start working on it. But to my surprise, last night, I walked through Pottersville going up to Stock Farm, and you wouldn't believe what I saw. Apparently, somebody must have gotten the message, and then I observed two vehicles that were parked. Those vehicles were there for over 2-3 years. Two vehicles that were parked. They were being towed away last night. I don't know by whom, or which authority, but apparently they may have gotten the message and they have started removing those vehicles. I know this is not in the jurisdiction of the solid waste, but they are derelict anyway. Yes. And the problem is, I personally remove photographs, and I send them via email to solid waste. I never got a response. I also met with Corporal or Inspector Andrew of the Traffic Division, and he asked me to forward him those photographs. The road going up to the prison, I don't know if the prisons haven't ever reported it, but in the stop from Simon Bolivar community in particular, I walked through the area and we may have had about almost 20 vehicles in the entire community. From my observation, in one of the lanes, I observed one of the vehicles, there's a tag on it marked disposal. I don't know if that was done by solid waste or traffic division. Can you highlight that for me, please? But I observed that some of the vehicles are marked. Not some, but I observed one.
Yeah. That's part of the drive. I think that's part of the drive. Okay, so you're wrapping up, right? So, because we have to end. We have already run out of time.
Yes, I'm wrapping up. So I think a little more stringent measures. I don't know measures are being taken, but stringent measures. Don't leave a marked vehicle. And Mr. Gentleman, is there a compactor for compacting those derelict vehicles? A compactor to crush them? No.
Okay. Thanks for your intervention, and Mr. Mitchell will answer, and then we will end because we have already passed the time. Yes, Florian Mitchell.
Yes. Yes. So again, thanks for the comments, and again, we call in on good corporate citizens. If you see something that's affecting your community, it is prudent to elevate it to the right agencies. And Andrew is a good officer. We've had good success with him on the derelict drive. With respect to the compactor, yes, there is a compactor on the landfill, but it is privately owned that could process derelict vehicles.
Okay, so let's get your closing remarks. We touched on a number of areas from the start, and I'm happy we could do that. How do you end? What is your advice? What message do you have as we close?
Again, waste management is our responsibility. It's our collective responsibility to manage our waste at a household level and to adhere to the collection days and times. Separating your material is very, very important. Yes, we understand there is a breakdown or continual delay process, but we expect by the end of this month that the system will be almost back to where it ought to be. But that doesn't warrant us to dispose of our material illegally. And to the residents of Stock Farm, we are expecting feedback from you so we could have the committee formalized and the agenda items that we'd want to expedite can be done. I know moving away from a landfill is something that is dear to you. We shall address those concerns moving forward. To my staff, I know you have been working hard on tipper trucks for a while. I really commend your effort and probably call on to the public as well. The waste management sector, if you're looking for employment, consider solid waste when the drivers need attendance. I'm taking that as a free advertisement here, Ms. Luge. But we really solicit your support in advancing the waste management agenda. And as I said, sustained financing is something that we really need to help improve on the efficiency and to be able to maintain the current system We really need that level of sustained financing to be implemented. Again, thanks for having us, and we look forward to coming at another time.
Definitely, we invite you again. Thank you so much, General Manager of the Dominican Solid Waste Management Corporation, Florian Mitchell. Stay tuned. Coming up next, Weekday Rendezvous with Dr. Miguel Labadie.